We're doing a little bit of a switch around in our house, so my office isn't available at the moment. Welcome to another week. Welcome to Monday. I hope that you're feeling ready for the week. I hope that you're feeling inspired. And at the same time, I welcome it all. So if you're feeling scared or overwhelmed or sad or confused or angry, that is also okay. Good morning, Paula. Good morning. I love seeing your face first thing on Monday morning. I know it's not first thing for you, but it is for me. Okay, so we'll dive into the chat. And the reason I actually kind of separated this out a bit, so it would be we're going to chat a little bit about what it means to welcome your pain, and then move into a mindfulness meditation to actually sit with presence, because that's really key to what it means to be in our experience of pain or discomfort or any of our felt experiences. And the reason this came up for me is this concept of really, welcoming the pain, is that I'm noticing that we just can't hide from it any longer. Like it just we can't turn it off. We can't turn away from. There's just no hiding. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that this year is really teaching us, is that hiding is no longer an option. So it is not safe to hide any longer. And we so often hide from difficult emotions, don't we? I've done that for so long. I was having a conversation yesterday about the fact that, until about 6 years ago, I had a span of time where I didn't cry. I didn't feel emotion. I didn't notice any difference in my experience other than, sometimes I'd be like frustrated, but I didn't know that it was frustration. And it was such a strange experience because something wasn't right, but I couldn't pinpoint it. And I was considering, why? Like, why is it that we struggle with naming emotions or feeling those emotions? What is it about the difficult emotions, the experiences that feel painful, that we turn away from? Why? Why do we do it? And I know for me, I felt as though they weren't welcome. So I felt as though those emotions, those experiences weren't welcome. They wouldn't be received. They weren't received. When I did express, it was not received in a way that felt safe to me. And that even includes myself. I was not receiving my emotions. I was not receiving my felt experience with grace. And when we are met with a lack of complete acceptance, it really shifts us into a space of, uncertainty, because one of our core needs, core desires is to be loved, to be held in this space of us for our completeness, our wholeness. And so everything eventually leads us there. It eventually teaches us how to get there. But I feel as though we have to kind of go through some of those struggles in order to really see that, that's not the way. Turning away from the emotions, turning away from the felt experience is not the way. Because what ends up happening is you start to leave pieces of yourself behind. You start to feel disconnected from who you are and what you desire and, just the fullness of life. You'll start to feel discontented. And so those are all keys and clues to kind of come back to self. And so when I say to you that your pain is welcome here, I mean that wholeheartedly. I don't want just your sunshines and rainbows. I think that that is a really unfortunate viewpoint, that is, the wholeness of this human experience. There's so much beauty in pain. There's so much beauty in the raw parts of us that are vulnerable and uncertain and scared and nervous and, you know, really unsure how to even proceed at times. We went on this amazing river float, Saturday, uh, and floated past this property that we were on last year that we had so many hopes for and we put so much work into and so much love. And I was feeling off, and I've come to learn to name that, not necessarily to know it completely, but to name it as, okay, I'm feeling something, and to kind of sit in that and welcome it in, because when I don't, it turns into anxiety, it turns into greater suffering. And I was feeling a lot of things, like a lot of things, because there was so much sadness still that's been unprocessed with that experience. And in the past, I would have just kind of turned away from that experience. I would have said, "Okay, let's keep going. Let's just pass by it. Let's keep floating on by." Kind of the lesson for life. But instead, we stopped and sat with it and witnessed that experience. This was with my partner Matt, so I'm sure he had a totally different experience than me. But I'm really in my feelings a lot. And so I was sitting in that space of discomfort and sitting in that space of grief and of, what all of the hopes that I had for this space that would no longer be realized in that way that I had imagined. And that's really the gift of the pain, isn't it? Because that pain was showing me where I needed a little bit more focus, a little bit more time to sit with that processing. And so as I sat with it, it started to kind of move and shift and express. And sometimes that expression can come out as tears, sometimes it can come out as anger, sometimes it can just come out as energy, like a felt experience of release. And as that was happening, it felt like I was going through like a whole range of turbulence inside. And at the same time, it was like a cleansing, like going for a really hot shower, and everything was just kind of soaking in, and the muscles relaxing, and everything was just starting to kind of let go and release. And then perspective arose. So I was able to see through new perspective what, we actually stopped on an island right across from the shore. So we had a place on the North Saskatchewan River, like really beautiful. And looking at that shoreline from a totally different angle, because we'd never seen it from that space before. We were always on the shore looking out. So looking at it from that perspective and really honoring that experience and all that it's taught us and all the lessons that came out of it. And without that pain, I would have bypassed that experience. So if I hadn't paid attention to that pain and allowed myself to sit with it, I would have completely bypassed the experience and been like, okay, let's just keep going. Let's get out of here. And so I invite you to consider that as we move into our mindfulness meditation. What is it that you're afraid to be with? What is it that feels uncomfortable, that feels painful? What in you is really seeking to be seen, to be known, to be welcomed in? What parts of you are you denying? What parts of you are you turning away from because you're scared of what you'll find there? And I'm no stranger to this. I've turned away a lot. And sometimes it's really scary because, when we see, we're often called to action. And that's usually where the fear comes from. We're afraid of what the seeing will bring us. We're afraid of what that action will mean, how it will disrupt our lives, how it will disrupt our current experience. But the beauty is that when we welcome that in, when we actually turn towards it, oftentimes it's so much less scary than we thought it was going to be. And the suffering that we're in by turning away from the pain is actually harder than facing it. And I think that we naturally end up there eventually, anyways, because the discomfort of the suffering often eventually outweighs the looking. So we eventually have to turn towards it because, at some point we're like, fine, like this is too much. This experience of anxiety is too much. This overwhelm, this anger is just too much. I have to finally look at what is going on here. But the learning of how to be with pain is really how to shorten that experience of extended suffering, to be with the experience as it arises and allow it to process more naturally. And so as we move into this mindfulness practice, bring that in, bring that experience in and just watch. So mindfulness is all about being aware of. And so there's going to be a lot of silence in this one. We're just going to do probably about 10 minutes of silent practice. And so as these feelings and these experiences come up for you, notice where you turn away. Notice where you don't want to look. And invite a little bit of safety and a little bit of compassion with your experience, because we're turning away for a reason. We're turning away because we're scared. So hold that fear with love, with grace, and then gently turn your focus towards the very thing that you're afraid of, and just watch and just notice. So let's move into this meditation practice. I'm in a funny position on a chair, so excuse my shifting. Okay, so if you like to be seated, this is a really good way to help energy move. You could even stand. If it feels good for you to stand, that's another way to help the energy move. And if at any time during the practice you feel you need to kind of shift and maybe flow a little bit, that's really helpful to move any stuck energy. So find your comfortable position of meditation. And so, in whatever posture you choose, see if you can create equal weight both sides of the body. So, balance out the sides of your body. And then feel a grounding, a rooting down into the earth. So, if you're seated, you can feel from the base of your spine an extension, a pulling down into the earth below, and connecting into that nurturing and grounding force, that foundational support. And then from that groundedness, lengthen through the spine. So you tilt the pelvis forward just slightly to help support the lower spine, and then extend all the way up the back of the neck, tucking the chin slightly. And just notice how that gives more space in the belly and the chest. And ultimately allows us to move energy, to process, to experience more fully, and to allow a softening in the muscles, in the organs, in the thoughts. And if you feel ready, you can close down your eyes. If you aren't ready or it just doesn't feel comfortable for you, just drop your gaze slightly, look down. And then draw your attention to your breath. And we'll just start by noticing the breath, just the natural rhythm, the natural flow. And then start to lengthen your breath a little bit. So start to lengthen your inhale and then match that length of your exhale. There's no forcing here. It's a really gentle breath. And so this mindfulness based practice starts now. You can focus your attention on your breath, and then I'll provide a few prompts as we go, but mostly it will be in silence. Notice. Notice where your attention is right now. Has it drifted away from the breath? Let's give this distraction, this new focus, a name, one word title, and an image. Notice as it comes up in your mind, almost like the cover of a book. And just allow it to be there, take up space, and then allow it to naturally dissolve or drift away in its own time. And when it's gone, then return your focus again to the breath. Nice, long, soft inhale and exhale. Notice. Notice again where your attention is. It's on your breath. It's okay. If it's drifted away, that's okay also. Let's welcome this in. So, again, giving this a one word title and an image, really encompassing what is seeking to be seen, allowing it to come up, turning towards it, and welcoming it in. And just notice what happens in your body when you allow for this space. This is what it means to be mindful. It's not about silence, it's not about total focus, it's about becoming aware, noticing what is happening, what is present. And so, again, see this very clearly in your mind's eye with that one word title and image. Just allow it to be there. And then when it naturally drifts away or dissolves, you can bring your attention back to your breath, really seeing if you can absorb your attention into the breath. Notice. Notice again where your attention lies. Is it on your breath or has it drifted away? Welcome in where your attention is. So if something is seeking to show itself to you, allow it in. Set a seat at your table and ask if there are any messages that need to be shared, if there's anything that needs to be heard, and be willing to receive this. So, really hold space for what is true for you right here, right now. Now, when we return to the breath, we breathe with this awareness. We welcome the awareness into our experience. And as we breathe in, we breathe into the space of truth, of experience, of presence. As we breathe out, we release any stored or trapped energy. Just allowing everything to circulate and flow more freely. Keep breathing with it, especially if there are any difficult emotions. Keep breathing very deeply, inhaling through the nose, and then exhaling out the mouth. And keep paying attention. So I was feeling a lot of tightness in my chest. And then all of a sudden, there's a deep breath and a sigh. And then everything kind of softened. So just watch your felt experience and notice how the energy moves. I invite you to draw your hands to your heart now. You can either place one hand on top of the other or in prayer position in Anjali Mudra. Connecting thumbs in with the breastbone, the energetic heart center. Just really feeling into gratitude, gratefulness for this felt experience, for the revealing of truths that comes from paying attention, for the gifts of this felt experience. Gratitude for your willingness to be in practice, to look at these things that can feel so scary, so uncertain, and to hold yourself with such love and grace. And gratitude for this practice in community, for sharing in this gathering of energy, this collective looking, noticing, and being with. I'm so deeply grateful for you practicing with me today. Let's take 3 really deep cleansing breaths together to close the practice. So inhale through the nose, audible sigh out the mouth. Really release everything. Inhale. One more. You can shake it out a little bit. Start to feel into the edges of your body again. Feel into the space that you're in. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back to the space. Mm. Thank you so much for practicing with me. There's a misunderstanding of mindfulness meditation that it really is about silence, and that uh, we have to kind of quiet the mind. Paula says, "Thank you. Knots now untied." Oh, isn't that beautiful? That's what it feels like for me too. It's like I I'm so uncomfortable with the knots when they're there, and then all of a sudden, just drops. Yeah. So there's this understanding, or there's this belief that mindfulness practice or meditation practice is about silencing the mind. But that's not true. It is not true. It's probably one of the biggest myths that I want everybody to know about. That's a byproduct of practice, is that the mind eventually quiets. It is not the point of practice. So when we're in mindfulness practice, it's actually about being aware of your present moment experience. And so if you're feeling pain, if you're feeling discomfort, if you're feeling um, any of the emotions that feel uncomfortable to be with, that's part of the practice. Like, that's what it means to be mindful, is to be aware of what is present for you in this moment, and it changes. So the next moment changes. And isn't that the beauty, is that this too shall pass? Even the seeming highest of highs will pass. Even the seeming lowest of lows will pass. It's all just part of it. And I think what the point is is this, rather than a jumping from high to low, is rather this freedom that comes from being beyond the fear. So actually being in that present moment felt experience and allowing it to flow through you. Then everything becomes so beautiful, becomes so open to looking, to noticing, to processing, to experiencing, to connecting with. It's just such a gift. Life becomes such a gift, a curiosity, a joy. It's like being a child again, where you stub your toe, or you drop a toy, or somebody takes it away, and you cry and you're upset. And then the next moment something makes you laugh with such joy. It's really the gift of presence, is that you become childlike in nature. You become so curious, so open to being with whatever is right here, right now. And it's those small moments of joy that come up and really kind of hold your attention and keep you in that presence. You're so welcome, Melissa. Thank you for practicing with me, with everybody. Have such a beautiful Monday, such a beautiful week. All my puppies are gone, so I have more time. So I'll probably be posting more this week. I don't know what I'm going to do with all my time. I wish you such an incredible start to your week and so many blessings to you. Mwah.